Welcome to The Right Atmosphere, podcast for writers, brought to you by Atmosphere Press, the only publisher that puts rewarding and meaningful author experiences above all else. I'm your host, Hala Alawi. On this episode, we'll be learning how authors can shift their mindset to accomplish their writing goals with our special guest, Amy Kelly. A fixture in the North Texas literary scene, Amy is dedicated to supporting fellow writers. As owner and CEO of Lone Star Literary Life, she provides a range of marketing opportunities for Texas's literary community, from free to paid, and teaches workshops on building an author brand. Amy co-hosts the podcast Time to Write with author Emily Roberson, offering practical tips and mindset tools to help authors achieve their goals. Amy lives in Frisco, Texas with her husband and occasionally her two college-age children. Thank you so much for joining me, Amy.
Thank you for having me. I'm just delighted to be here.
Yeah, of course. And of course, we just heard that you direct Lone Star Literary Life, which is an essential tool and bountiful resource for writers based in Texas. I know at Atmosphere, we've used it tons of times,
Yes.
but it's also useful, of course, to authors around the US or even beyond. But in addition to that, you co-host this podcast, Time to Write. And that is particularly exciting to me as well, I'm sure, to our listeners, because that podcast focuses on helping authors shift their mindset to accomplish their writing goals. So I'm really excited to ask you, what practical advice can you give to aspiring authors to really help them make that mindset shift in pursuit of accomplishing those writing goals?
Sure. Well, thank you so much for that question. Emily and I, my co-host, we have been part of a critique group for many years, and we just decided to start kind of recording our encouraging sessions together. So I would say, first of all, if you are a writer who is struggling to meet your writing goals, whatever those may be, know that you're not alone. Most of us struggle with that. And I would say for me, what has been most helpful in shifting my mindset has been around the process. And rather than focusing on the end goal, whether it's your end goal for the day of hitting a certain number of words or your end goal of publishing, I think what helps in the day-to-day is really falling in love with what your process is. And I think for a long time, for me, there were parts of writing that I didn't realize were the process. So it might look like sitting and staring out the window for an hour or two, or journaling, or taking a walk around the neighborhood, or whatever it might be. But that is just as much a valid part of my writing process as sitting down and cranking the words out. And sometimes the cranking the words out is kind of the very last piece of creating, right? So it's been all of this build up and this planning and a hugely mental exercise. So as far as shifting your mindset around that, I think to really start to understand what your process is. So having some self-awareness around that, maybe journaling a little bit. What do you find are the consistent things that you do to be able to write? So I think that is one side of the mindset shift for the actual work. And then the other mindset shift that I would recommend for people is claiming your identity as an author. I would say that for some reason is really difficult for people who are just starting out. That if you write, then you are an author. And so really claiming that, I think having that mindset really helps you move forward to make it your reality, right? So until you feel like you are an author, you might not reach out to some place like Atmosphere to have your work published. I think, so just owning your process and really owning your identity as a writer. Those are the big main shifts, I would say, that writers would really want to make.
Yeah, and to that second point, I mean, I see that a lot of the time working with as many authors as I do, but also, whatever the industry is, I can really see that. I mean, another way to put that is that it's manifesting as imposter syndrome.
Right.
Um, Yeah, and that's a huge mental block. So, getting past that, even if it feels like you're pretending at first, I can imagine makes a huge difference in what writing goals you're able to then accomplish.
Absolutely.
Um, so I'm curious also, what do you, as a writer, or when you're in the writing process, what do you find yourself struggling with most? Is it that kind of imposter syndrome? Is it something else? Whatever it is, how do you address that also?
So for me, I would say, which is fodder for my Time to Write podcast, is actually making the time to write, because as with most writers, it is not my day job. And my day job, particularly because I bought Lone Star Literary Life, I hit my year mark. So owning a business for the first time for the first year, like as you can imagine, has just been super overwhelming, and figuring out how to schedule in my time to write. That's been the challenge. So one of the things that I have done is I'm fortunate to have an office space within. My husband owns his own company as well, and he had extra room for me here, and it's a great facility. So once a month, I invite my writer friends to come and write in the space, and that is my dedicated writing time. So I wouldn't say I'm not a daily writer at this point because of my work situation, but I am trying to do the little bit that I can when I can. And I think understanding that that's still progress. I think there's part of my brain that's like, if I don't sit down and do my, however many words for NaNoWriMo you're supposed to do every day, like 1,167 or whatever, then, it's an all or nothing thing. So I think understanding that slow and steady still wins the race.
Yeah, and that also speaks to this idea that, for some people, a commitment to consistency might look like I write for 30 minutes every day. And for some people, it might look like I write 200 words every day. But then there's going to be others who, even if you write 50 words on Monday and 2,000 words on Tuesday, and then you don't write again until Saturday,
Yes.
I think there's this tendency to feel like that's a failure more than anything else because it wasn't consistent. But, whatever works for the particular writer, if you reward those wins instead of,
Yeah.
shaming yourself for the quote unquote failures, that's definitely going to have a much better success in the long run, I would say.
Yes, absolutely. And two things that you said there. One, I think reminding everyone that what you just described, 50 words on Monday, 200 on Tuesday, and then 2,000 on Saturday, that might be your process. So really, again, being self-aware. And then the word that you use that Emily and I talk about all the time that we encourage people to exchange is exchange curiosity for shame. So shame is going to kill your writing game every time, like every time. And I love that you brought it up, because I feel like that might be another huge mindset shift to really think about and work on if you're struggling with that. So if you're feeling shame at not meeting your personal goals, I would absolutely recommend taking a step back and doing exactly what you said, celebrating your wins. What can you encourage yourself with? What can you say, okay, yes, I did sit down in my chair and type, regardless of whether I got actual words or something that I could use for my story or whatever it is. So yeah, celebrate.
Yeah, exchange curiosity for shame is such a great, succinct way to put that. I'm writing that down so
Okay.
that I can remember that one forevermore. And I mean, again, it applies to so many different things. It doesn't just have to be for writing. So,
Right. Right.
um, yeah, that's amazing. Thank you so much for that.
Sure.
This is already like so fruitful, even just for me. So,
Oh, I'm
it's
so
so
glad to hear
great.
that. I'm so glad. Yeah, Emily and I have a really great time having these conversations, because they're the things that we struggle with, and they're the things that we have to remind ourselves about consistently as well. I think we were talking earlier this week about how sometimes you feel like, well, once I have a book published, or once I get this, or once I am in this spot, then I'll feel blah, blah, blah. And that's just not how it works. Wherever you go, there you are. Like there's no like magical key twist to not having imposter syndrome or not struggling with the things that you struggle with. Like it's just part of it, part of the journey.
Exactly. And I think that's just a great thing to keep in mind. You can just invent it as you go along just because, Stephen King or
Yeah.
your favorite author doesn't do something a particular way. If you do it and it works for you, that's really what matters for the process. Before we say goodbye to our guest, I'm happy to say that this episode is brought to you by Atmosphere Press, the only publisher that puts rewarding and meaningful author experiences above all else. Founded in 2015 by an author and PhD in literature and devoted to serving authors through editorial, design, publication, and promotion, Atmosphere has sold tens of thousands of copies of their authors' books across 6 continents. Visit atmospherepress.com to sign up for Atmosphere's newsletter, The Launchpad, and to learn about submission opportunities, event news, and free book, publicity, and writing residency giveaways. I'd also love to ask you, where should our listeners go to learn more about you and what it is that you do?
Oh, sure, sure. So our podcast is called the Time to Write podcast with Amy Kelly and Emily Robertson, and so you can definitely find us there. We haven't published anything new for a little while, but there are new episodes coming. And then I would say lonestar-lit.com is a great place to go and see the work that Lone Star is doing. We're really crafting it to be a hub for the Texas literary scene. So whether you're a reader or a writer or a publisher or an indie bookstore owner, wherever you fit in that landscape, we have something for you. And all our socials are at Lone Star Lit. So Facebook, Instagram, X, Threads, Twitter, like that should be all Lone Star Lit.
Amazing. Lots of places to find you guys. And I really can't stress this enough. There's so many great resources on Lone Star's website. So I hope that everybody tunes in and checks all of that out. Even if you're not a Texas-based author, there's so much for you to find there and
There
so
it
much
is.
to learn from. But for now, thank you again so much, Amy. And thanks to everybody for tuning in. And I'm so excited to see everyone on the next episode.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us on this episode of The Right Atmosphere, the Advice for Writers podcast. If you liked what you heard, please leave a review and share this podcast with the writers in your life. And if you're ready to take the next step in your publication journey, visit atmospherepress.com to submit your manuscript for publication consideration or to learn more about writing and what it is that we do. I'm Hala. Thanks for listening, and I'll catch you in the next episode.